Gypsy Rose Blanchard lived with her devoted mother, D. Blanchard. What was supposed to be a perfect mother and daughter moment turned out to be a tragedy. The child was trapped in her mother's web of endless lies. D claimed that her daughter suffered from fictional illnesses. As a result, Gypsy endured a life of unnecessary hospital visits and unending medications. Desperate to break free, she thought of a plan. She found an ally who turned out to be an accomplice. D was forced out of the way. This is D Blanchard's true crime murder. How did it get to this point? Gypsy and D. D began lying about Gypsy's health when she was a baby. She claimed that her daughter had sleep apnea when she was 8 years old. D added that Gypsy was suffering from leukemia and had muscular dystrophy. She convinced doctors that her daughter needed a feeding tube and a wheelchair. She listed other medical problems like asthma, seizures, and hearing and visual impairments. Due to its severity, Gypsy was prescribed a truckload of medications and had to sleep with a breathing machine. The poor child underwent multiple surgeries and procedures, including the removal of her salivary glands. Gypsy's teeth succumbed to the medications and rotted. The affected teeth were pulled out, and she was left with little or nothing. Unfortunately, she did not understand. She thought she was ill. The truth was that Gypsy could walk. She didn't even need a feeding tube and didn't have cancer. Her head was bald because her mother shaved it to make her story believable. Unknown to many, D had a mental illness called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It is a factitious disorder imposed on another. As a result, she made up her daughter's ill health to receive attention and sympathy from the public. And yes, this worked. D was perceived to be a devoted mother who cared for her sick child. Medical tests often showed contradictory results about Gypsy's alleged ailments, but her mother disagreed. She stopped visiting doctors who questioned her insistence. Many of the caregivers she approached had no option but to do their bidding. D was a trained nurse and knew about drugs. She would give her daughter drugs to mimic certain conditions so that the doctors would be more confused. When Gypsy was old enough to describe her symptoms, her mother instructed her not to speak to doctors during appointments. Only D communicated her fake medical history. She told Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder that caused her several issues. Rod was a good father. He helped his daughter through it. But then, his family noticed something was off. They discovered that Gypsy could walk and didn't need a wheelchair. When D got wind of this truth, she packed her bags and moved out of the city. She lied about being a victim of Hurricane Katrina, so she and Gypsy received assistance to relocate from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005. There, she resumed her botched doctor's appointments. When Gypsy became a teenager, D still claimed she was ill and lied about her age. In 2008, the mother and daughter moved into a new home in Springfield, Missouri. The property was painted pink and had a wheelchair ramp specially made to aid Gypsy's movement. D also received benefits running into thousands of dollars. As for Gypsy, she enjoyed charity-sponsored Disney World visits. It was a tortuous experience for Gypsy, but a glorious experience for her mother. D basked in the attention of the government and charity organizations. When Gypsy was 14, a neurologist in Missouri believed she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Unfortunately, he never reported to the authorities. He felt this was the case but didn't have evidence. Of course, he was scared of raising false alarms. The following year, an anonymous person wrote to authorities saying that Gypsy's ailments were all a lie. This resulted in 2 care workers visiting D's home. This visit was fruitless. She convinced them that her daughter had a huge problem. The workers nodded their heads in affirmation and left. D altered her daughter's birth certificate to make her younger. But by now, Gypsy grew increasingly agitated. She wanted a way out of the mess. She is desperate to be free from her mother's wrath. That would only be possible if she killed her. She nursed different ideas in her mind until she devised a plan. Her ultimate strategy, to be free from her mother, led to a life sentence. Gypsy plans her mother's death. In 2011, Gypsy made the first move to run away from her mother. That year, she met a man at a science fiction convention. Unknown to her, her mother tracked them down through mutual friends. She chatted with the mystery guy and convinced him that Gypsy was a minor. That too was a lie because her child had clocked 19. D then smashed her computer so she wouldn't have access to this man forever. She restrained her to her room and didn't allow her to visit friends. She was chained to her bed for 2 weeks until her mom let her go. Luckily, Gypsy managed to get back online. she made her second move. This time she joined a Christian dating site. There, she met one Nicholas Gaudejean. She told him the truth about her mother and how she wanted to leave her mother's house so badly. She ended up asking him for a huge favor, and he obliged. Gypsy begged Nicholas to kill her mother so they could elope and start life in another city. He probably was hell over heels in love with her and didn't consider the consequences. In June 2015, he visited her house and stabbed Dee while Gypsy waited in the bathroom. When he was done, he called out to his shaky girlfriend. The pair ran to his home in Wisconsin, believing their problems were over, but not too fast. The police busted their home and arrested them. It was an easy catch. Earlier, Gypsy posted on the Facebook account she shared with her mother. She wrote, "That bitch is dead." She later confessed that she wanted the police to find her mother's body. That's why she wrote it. When news of the murder went viral, people wondered why Dee's beloved daughter went to that length to kill her. Her mother had devoted her entire life to caring for her. So why? It didn't take long for the news of Gypsy's health to become public. Why didn't she expose her mother's lies, they asked. Gypsy clarified that she feared her mother would hurt her if she told the truth. Her mom controlled and monitored her every move, and there was no room for betrayal. While she had normal intelligence, her mother told everyone that she had a mental age of 7. No one would believe a 7-year-old making hefty allegations in public. Experts describe Gypsy's condition as one similar to Stockholm Syndrome. Her captor was in total control of her senses, just like a kidnapper would. She was held hostage for no fault of hers. Her crime was partly understandable. Gypsy was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison for her role in her mother's death. However, her then-boyfriend, Nicholas Gaudejean, was charged with first-degree murder and slammed with a life sentence. Gypsy has now been released from prison after serving 85% of her sentence. The 32-year-old stated that she's glad to be out of jail, but is not happy her mother is dead. She hopes to become a guiding light to victims of Munchausen by proxy. She has several lists of activities on her post-incarceration bucket list. One such is going on a shopping spree and binge-watching her favorite movies. However, she will never watch The Act, Hulu's 2019 limited series starring Joey King and Patricia Arquette. The true crime drama is based on her story.